皆さんおはようございます。こんにちは、こんばんは。Thank you for joining me today for the Easy Japanese News Article of the Day for July 6, 2026. 2026年7月6日の今日の記事でございます。So looking at our headline today, we have フランス、とても暑い日が続いて、たくさんの人が亡くなっている。So looking at our vocabulary from the headline, we have フランス, which is France, 暑い, which is hot, 続く for something to continue, and 亡くなる to die or to pass away. So jumping back into our headlines, we have フランス, so France, that's kind of our main idea. We're going to talk about something about France after this. So とても is very, then 暑い hot. So とても暑い日 is a day.In this case, we're using plural. So, とても暑い日, hot days, or very hot days. Ga, they're going to do something. And that verb that they do. So, this ga tells us that this is the subject that's going to do or be something. And in this case, that action is 続く, which is 続いて. This is 続く in the te form, which means we're going to do this verb and something else is going to happen afterwards. So 暑い日が続いて the very hot days continue to occur. They're continuously happening. And then たくさんの人. So たくさん is a lot. 人 is people. And to connect those, we use the particle no. So たくさんの人, a lot of people.Once again, our subject particle ga telling us they're going to do something. And that verb is 亡くなる. And that is to pass away or to die. And then that is in the te iru form. So 亡くなる, 亡くなって, 亡くなっている. And that means that action is ongoing. It is currently happening. So, in France, the hot days are continuing. They continue to be hot days. And many people are dying. And here is our vocabulary from the rest of the article. We have Paris, which is Paris. Kion, which is air temperature. That's normally when we talk about the weather. When we talk about the temperature, we'll use the word kion, which is air temperature. And then we have gein, which is the cause of something. Machi is a town or a city. They don't use the kanji, but it's a very common kanji, so I included that here. Machi, a town or city. Sumu is to live, and that's like to live in a place, not to live your life, but to live in a place. And then komaru is to be in trouble or to be in a bad situation. Tatemono is a building. Yane is a roof. Kinzoku is metal. Ita is a plate or a board. Taiyo is the sun. Netsu is heat. Ondo is temperature. Now, ondo can be used to refer to anything, the temperature of anything, whereas kion is particularly talking about air temperature, so that's the difference between those two. Then we have shokubutsu, which is plant, and herasu, to decrease. So this is a transitive verb when we or someone is decreasing something, not when something decreases on its own. Okay, and an interesting grammar we have today is sa. So we can attach this on the end of an adjective and turn it into a noun. Now, a little note here, when we have an e adjective, we drop the e and then add sa. There are some na adjectives you can do this with, and you can just add the sa after it. However, this is mostly only done for e adjectives. But here we have e adjectives, drop the e, and then add this sa, and it turns that adjective into a noun. Now, sometimes these nouns are hard to translate into English, but they're very commonly used in Japanese. For example, oishii, delicious, or yummy, right? And then you drop that e, oishisa. This is one you'll very commonly see in like restaurants and things like that, or advertisements. The deliciousness of something, or the good flavor, right? So let's take a look at some of our example sentences here. So we have このお好み焼き美味しさ抜群だね. So このお好み焼き です。お好み焼き、この便です。and お好み焼き。Now this is our おいしさ。So おいしい going to おいしさ this deliciousness. And then 抜群 is something that means like super effective or outstanding, amazing, right? So here おいしさ抜群 the deliciousness is amazing. And this だね is isn't it, right? So this お好み焼き is so delicious, isn't it? Literally, it has outstanding deliciousness. Okay, then we have アメリカ人は英語の難しさがわからない。So アメリカ人 is going to be Americans, アメリカ人 a person from America は英語 is going to be English, 英語の something of English 難しさ so it's going to be 難しい which is difficult. Then we are taking 難しい and adding that さ so 難しさ the difficultness or the hardness of it がわからない So ga tells us this is going to be something that has an attribute or it's going to do something, and this difficultness is わからない difficult to understand or impossible to understand. So Americans do not understand the difficultness of English or how hard English is. And finally, we have 陸子はいつも悪さばっかりしてる. So 陸子 is going to be our character here. What main topic or frame of reference here? いつも is always. And then 悪さ. So this comes from 悪い, meaning bad. 悪さ is badness, literally, but this is commonly used to mean like mischief or doing bad things. And we have ばっかり, which is kind of like only, as in the only thing they do, particularly when we have the verb する after it. And then we have する in the ている form, which goes to ている. So する to do something, and している is currently always doing something, or in the state of doing this. So 陸子はいつも悪さばっかりしてる. Rikugo is always doing bad stuff or doing badness. Or a better translation, always into mischief.
フランスでとても暑い日が続いています。先月24日にパリは 40.6 度になりました。今までで一番高い気温です。たくさんの人が暑さが原因で亡くなっています。22日から28日までの間にフランスでは前の週より2025人多い人が亡くなりました。パリの街に住む人たちは暑くて困っています。パリの建物の屋根は金属の薄い板を使ったものが多くて太陽の熱を集めます。そのため部屋は温度が高くなりやすいです。建物の上の方に住んでいる人は屋根に植物などを置いて太陽の光が入ってくるのを減らしたいと話していました。
All right, so let's get right into the rest of our article.
フランスでとても暑い日が続いています。
Okay, フランスで So フランス France で tells us our place of location. Our place of location. The location where this is taking place. That's what I meant to say. So in France, とても very とても暑い日. We've seen this in the headline. Very hot days が these が tells us this days are going to do something, and our verb is 続く, which is to continue in the ている form. Then we add ます to be formal. So 続いています. In France, the hot days continue, or they are continuing.
先月24日にパリは 40.6 度になりました。
Okay, so she said 先月, but written we have 6月. So 先月 last month. 6月 is going to be June. And then 24日. This is a weird reading of this character, but when we have a day of the month ending in 4, we say 4日 for the fourth day. So this 24 turns into 24日. Then we have 2, which tells us our time. So this happened on the 24th of June. パリは Paris is going to be Paris. Wa is our main framework or topic here. And then 40.6 度. So 40.10, we say 10 when we are giving a decimal point. It literally means point. So 40.6 be 40.6. Then we say 度 for degrees. And then になりました. This ni often goes with our verb naru, to become. It tells us what becomes. And then this naru goes into narimashita. So the past tense of the mas form to be polite. So 40.6 度になりました. So on the 24th of June, Paris became 40.6 degrees. And Japan uses Celsius, so if they don't specifically say Celsius, assume that's what they're talking about. In Celsius.
今までで一番高い気温です。
Okay, 今まで is going to be 今, which is now, まで up to this point. And then で is just the particle we use to say in that state. So from the state up till now, 今までで 一番 is going to be number one, or if we have an adjective after it, it means most in a lot of cases. And in this case, it does 高い, which is high. So 一番高い would be the highest. And then 気温 is going to be our air temperature. And this です. So once again, in Japanese, we are dropping off our main subject here, but we are saying it is something. And what is this 40.6 degrees Celsius is the highest air temperature, 気温, to the current point. So they have never seen such high temperatures in Paris. 今までで一番高い気温です。
たくさんの人が暑さが原因で亡くなっています。
Okay, so たくさんの人. We've done this in the headline, but this means a lot of people. たくさんの人 connected with the particle no. And the が, they're going to do something or be something. And so lots of people are 暑さ. So this is our grammar point of the day with 暑い being hot, but we are turning this into heat. So we drop the e that would normally be here for this e adjective, 暑い, and then we add that さ to mean heat or hotness, right? 暑さが原因で. So 原因 is cause. And if we have blank が原因で, that means due to this thing. So this で, we kind of use it in this structure here. Blank が原因で caused by this or due to this. So 暑さが原因で would be due to the heat. And then 亡くなっています. This is 亡くなる to die or pass away. In the ている form, because it's currently happening. And the ます form, just to be formal or polite. So there are many people who are dying due to the heat. 暑さが原因で亡くなっています。
22日から28日までの間に、フランスでは前の週より2025人多い人が亡くなりました。
Okay, 22日から28日まで。So we have a から and a まで. から meaning from and まで meaning until. Here we are using days, but you can also use places with karan made. But here we're going to use days. So 22日, the 22nd day from the 22nd day, 22日から28日まで until the 28th. And then when we want to connect these to aida, which means between or in this period, we use the particle no right next to made. So 22日から28日までの間. In the time period from the 22nd to the 28th, and because this is a time period, we use ni here. And then, so in that time period, フランスでは in France, using that as our main topic or framework here with that particle wa, 前の週, so 前 is going to be before or previous. To connect to 週 week, we use the particle no, 前の週より. So something is more than the previous week. That's what this yori means. 2025人. So 2025, not the year here. If we look at our kanji, this nin is going to be people. And then oi is going to be more or a lot. When we have yori oi, it's going to say more than what we already brought up previously. So more than the previous week. And then hito, once again, people, ga, they're going to do something or they're going to be something. Here's our verb that they're going to do, which is nakunaru. And we put that in the past tense, mas form to be formal, and past tense, right? So nakunarimashita. So people passed away, and when we are describing these people, all of this is going to describe what kind of people are passing away, or in this case, how many people are passing away. So, 前の週より2025人多い人. So that means 2025 more people than the previous week. This structure here is a little bit weird, but we always just have to say, okay, what kind of people are we talking about? We are talking about people that are 2025 people more than the previous week. So to put this all together, it's from this period, from the 22nd to the 28th, 2025 more people died when compared to the previous week. So they're not telling us the exact number that died due to the heat, but they're saying, compared to the previous week, a lot of people died. Now, there are people that have been confirmed to have died due to heat stroke, etc., etc. But they're not telling us exactly how many of those are heat related here. Right?
パリの街に住む人たちは暑くて困っています。
Okay, Paris is going to be Paris again. Paris no something of Paris. Machi, which is going to be the town or city. So the city of Paris, Paris no machi ni. And then we use ni here because our verb requires it, which is sumu, to live. So living in the city of Paris. And then we have hitotachi. So hito is person. If we want to be very clear that we're talking about people here, we can add this tachi. We don't have to, but we can. So, パリの街に住む人たちは the people who live in the city of Paris は it's our main topic or framework here 暑くて so this comes from our adjective 暑い and then if we want to put that in the te form, we drop the e and add くて. And the te form here can be either mean we're continuing our sentence, we're going to say something else, or kind of loosely connect them. In this case, they're kind of connected. So, 暑くて困っています. So, 困る is to be in trouble or having a hard time. And we have that in the teiru form and the mas form to be formal. And this teiru means it's currently happening, right? So, the people who are living in Paris are in trouble due to it being hot. So sometimes the te form is saying due to this first thing, this second thing is happening. And that's kind of the implication here. The people living in Paris are in a lot of trouble due to how hot it is. They're having a hard time.
パリの建物の屋根は 金属の薄い板を使ったものが多くて、太陽の熱を集めます。
Okay, so パリの建物。So Paris の something of Paris. 建物 which is going to be buildings. So buildings in Paris. パリの建物 no something of the buildings. And sometimes when we use this particle no, we can keep going on forever. This from this from this. But here we have 屋根 which is going to be the roofs or roofs. I don't know English. パリの建物の屋根 So the roofs of the buildings in Paris は main topic or framework here. 金属 which is going to be metal. 金属の something of metal. 薄い板 So 薄い is thin. And that is an e adjective connected to our noun 板 here, which is like plates or boards. So 金属の薄い板 is going to be thin metal boards. Or there's going to be a verb that does something to these thin metal boards, and that verb is going to be 使う, which is to use. We put this in the past tense because it was used. And then 物. So this 物 is ones or things here. So this actually connects back to our 屋根, which is roofs. So roofs that use thin metal plates が is going to be something or do something. And here that's going to be 多い, which is a lot, our e adjective here. And then we are going to put that in the te form just like we previously did. So 多くて, drop the e at the くて. So there are many roofs, or the wa here kind of goes like the roofs of the buildings in Paris, or that's our main topic. Many of them use thin metal plates, and 太陽, which is going to be the sun. 太陽の something of the sun. 熱 is going to be heat. So instead of 暑さ, we can use 熱. 熱 is more of a scientific word. 暑さ is a general everyday word. And 太陽の熱を going to be a verb that does that because this is our object marker that marks our object. And then our verb is 集める. So to gather or collect. So 集めます. And then this mas form is our formal form. So many of the roofs of the buildings in Paris use or were made of thin metal plates, and they collect the heat, or the heat is kind of condensed into them, right?
そのため部屋は温度が高くなりやすいです。
Okay, そのため. So その we are connecting to ため to mean due to this. そのため due to this. Therefore, 部屋は so 部屋 is going to be rooms. は our main topic or framework for this part of the sentence. 温度 is going to be temperature, and that temperature is going to do something since we have が as our object particle. And then we have 高くなりやすいです. Okay, we're going to have to break this one down. So the root of this word is just going to be 高い, which is high. So 温度が高い, a high temperature. However, we are dropping that e and adding くなる, which is how we say something becomes high or gets high. And then from that 高くなる, we are attaching 安い, which means there is a tendency or it is easy for that to happen. So 高くなりやすいです. It is very easy for the temperature in the room to get high. Or a lot of times when we translate this, we'd say it tends to, right? Due to these thin metal plates that are used on the roofs in the city of Paris, the temperature in the rooms tends to get high. 高くなりやすいです.
建物の上の方に住んでいる人は屋根に植物などを置いて太陽の光が入ってくるのを減らしたいと話していました。
Okay, so 建物 is once again going to be buildings. 建物の something of the buildings. Then we have 上, which is going to be up or above. And then ほう connected to 上 with the particle no. So something of the upper something of the building. But this whole tells us a direction. Now, a lot of times when we see ほう, it's like a certain part of something. So in this case, 建物の上の方 would be the upper parts of the building. So 上の方 doesn't mean like the very top, doesn't mean the bottom or the middle, it's the upper parts of it. And then に we use に because we need it for our verb 住む, which is to live. And then we have 住む in the ている form because these people are currently living there. And the ている form of 住む is 住んでいる. So the people, and then all of that is describing our hito here. So the hito, the people who live on the upper parts of the buildings. 建物の上の方に住んでいる人は. Then our main topic or framework here with that は, we have 屋根に the roof, に onto the roof. We're going to have a verb that requires this に here. 植物, which is plants, など, and things like that whatever we just brought up. So 植物など be plants and things like them. お marks our object, so we're going to do something to the plants, etc. And that verb is going to be 置く. And in the て form, we say 置いて. So the people who live on the top parts of the building are going to place plants and the like on the roofs. And 太陽の光, so 太陽 is going to be the sun, no something of the sun, or particle no. 光 is going to be the light of the sun. 太陽の光が is going to do something since it is our subject marker here. So 光が入ってくる. So 入ってくる. This comes from 入る to enter and 来る to come. We put 入る in the て form and add this 来る. We're saying something is coming into something, right? And 入ってくるの, we use this no here because we want to take this entire thing of 太陽の光が入ってくる and use it as an object. So we're going to do something to the fact that light of the sun or the sun's rays are coming in. And that's why it is marked with an o, which is our object particle. So the thing of the lights or the sun's rays coming in, we want to 減らす it, which is 減らす to decrease or try to eliminate, right? And then we take 減らす and put that in the た form to say we want to do something. And 減らしたいと, and this と, in this case, it is something that kind of marks a previous section or a phrase and says this is like a quote. So this is our quote here from 屋根に all the way to 減らしたい. と, that's our quote. And then 話していました. This is our verb 話す to speak or to say. And then we have that in the ている form, saying there's a certain period of time where they were doing this. But this is in the past tense with ました here. The ます form in the past tense, so the past tense formal, ました. And we use the ている along with ました to say there was this time when they were saying this. So they asked them and they were saying that, all of this stuff. So to kind of break this into little chunks, we have our first chunk here. 建物の上の方に住んでいる人は the people who live in the upper parts of the building. Then we have our quote. And then the end, と話していました. We're saying that, and then what were they saying? 屋根に植物などを置いて placing plants and the like on the roof, and 太陽の光が入ってくるのを減らしたい. So, this is kind of another one of those cases where this て form here of 置いて, 置く, 置いて loosely connects these two ideas. So they want to decrease the amount of the sun's rays that are coming in by doing what came before our teform, which is placing plants on the roof. So they want to decrease the amount of sun that gets in by putting plants and other things on the roof. And that is it for our article today. Thank you so much for joining me. 本当にありがとうございました。If you have not yet liked or subscribed, please do. There's plenty more coming on this channel. And I hope you're enjoying these articles. ありがとうございました。またね。